Crafting up another top 5, we're bringing back a long-awaited series for finally a brand new episode as a sequel. Top 5 things we love in TDS.
Number 20.
Having more than enough consumables. As we all know, these consumables, which I just phrased as tacticals, are essentially these mini items you can use in any game except holidays and or hardcore for some reason, I don't know why, but you can essentially use them in a majority of game modes. And these consumables can either change the game entirely or just change the game in small doses amounts. So for an example you have is the care package, where you can essentially claim $1,000 after calling in, well, a care package, which can generally change a lot of strategies for the better and give you a massive head start, because I mean obviously $1,000 is a big deal, especially in the early waves. And then you've got some other ones, like for an example the frag grenade, which of course, and then you've got some other ones that are just devastatingly powerful, like nukes and this giant beast dude, which I've never used at all because I only have a handful of them remaining, but the nukes are just devastatingly powerful. And one of the best things about these consumables is that you can have an infinite amount of them. Only bad thing is that once you use them, they are completely permanent and you can never get them back. But thankfully we have these crates where you can essentially just buy more of these things back. However, it's all RNG, so you may or may not get the items that you've essentially just wasted and refilled. But for all of the other consumables that you can just generally get a shitload amount of them from just opening regular crates, like grenades and or flags, if you have around a 30s or 40s of amounts of them, you can essentially just use them in every single game and not worry about, you know, trying to save them in any crucial event or moment in games. Having a lot of them generally just feels a lot more satisfying when you essentially don't have to worry about, you know, using them up or just using one or a few of them and never getting them back again, because you have more than enough to actually be worried about.
Number 30.
Reaching a milestone level and unlocking a brand new tower. One of the things about TDS, or just a form of gaming quite honestly, is that in the majority of games you unlock a specific new feature, or I guess weapon, or something new at an appropriate level, like level 10 or something like that. And that is no exception for TDS. There are many different levels where you essentially just unlock a brand new tower that will essentially just carry you until you have reached the next level, milestone, where you unlock a brand new tower for that tower to do the exact same thing. One of the first ones is the Crook Boss, who is generally just one of the best towers, especially his golden form. He is just insanely good. The next ones is the turret at level 50 that absolutely chews bosses, and then 75, mortar, and then so on and so forth. And one of the best levels to unlock anything is level 100 and 175, where you unlock the Pursuit and the Gatling. Pursuit is just generally just a very strong tower that is pretty much used in every single game mode, just because of how devastatingly strong it is, but also how it can just literally follow any enemies around and go anywhere on the map you actually want it to be. Then the Gatling is literally just created to just destroy anything it sets its eyes on. There are so many levels to where you can literally unlock brand new items. Reaching these milestones levels are very, very rewarding, since of course you unlock a brand new tower and can essentially continue grinding until you reach the final few levels.
Number 7.
Collecting enemy indexes. Quite honestly, ever since this index thing has come out, there have been some, let's just say, very devastating enemies to actually collect. More specifically, final boss enemies in this game. You might have the chance to collect an index book from one of these enemies. And quite honestly, after collecting these books, you, well, get to, I guess, study these enemies. I don't really know. You get to look at their stats, descriptions, or whatever, and I guess it's kind of interesting. I don't know. But there are some very specific enemies that only appear a few times and or only once, to where if you manage to get the book, it literally feels like you just won the lottery. And one of the most devastating things about these bosses is that they only appear once. You essentially have to do the whole entire game mode all over again in order to have a chance, of course, to get them the next time. But of course, it's not guaranteed. And one of the most devastating things is that the harder the boss, of course, the longer it takes to actually get back to that point and essentially try to kill them and maybe get the book again. Case in point we have is the Void Reavers, Fallen Kings, Polluted Monster, and there are generally so many more enemies that only appear a few times to only once, and quite honestly getting them feels so satisfying, especially how you never have to essentially be lucky to kill that boss ever again, and it is generally so satisfyingly relieving that you finally got that enemy book that has long awaited to be in your loadout.
Number 12.
Acquiring all of the golden towers. In TDS, there are a lot of towers in this game that are generally not that good, quite honestly. However, there is a special crate in the shop where after paying an insane 50,000 coins, you essentially get an upgraded version of that bad tower. However, there's only a few of these towers that are, upgraded in this crate. There's the Golden Soldier, Scout, Pyro, Crook, Cowboy, and the Mini Gunner. All of them are quite honestly very strong, except the Scout, and mostly all of them have the downs of, or at least cons, of essentially being more expensive than the original variant tower. But that doesn't mean they're bad, because obviously they are just much stronger, like case in point, the Golden Cowboy, Mini Gunner, Crook Boss. They are just so much stronger. Only bad thing is that they just cost a crap load of money, 50,000, which will just take you days to complete. Unless you just grind TDS just for like 24 hours a day or something, it's going to take you a very long time. But when you finally achieve one golden tower, it feels very satisfying because obviously it's an upgraded tower. Only bad thing is that it is also RNG, so it's basically going to give you a random one of these golden towers. But in the end, when you have all of these upgraded towers, it is generally so relieving that you never again have to pay for this golden crate that you spend days or even weeks to essentially afford. These golden towers are very strong for a hell of a price essentially.
Number 1.
Check this out.
Number 1 we have is acquiring all of the gem towers. Just as we just said beforehand of the golden towers, how it takes lots of time to essentially afford them, we now have to deal with gem towers. Gem towers are essentially, or hardcore towers, but these guys are essentially the best of the best characters in this entire game. Now, I like to see them as basically experts in gameplay styles of TDS. For an example, the Brawler is obviously the expert in meleeing and close quarter combat, because of all of his damage and abilities and just being downright better. The Necromancer being the best one of the spawner towers, since he can damage and also spawn very powerful skeletons. And then we have Accelerator, who essentially accelerates at dealing insane amount of damage, however to only one enemy. And then the Engineer, who excels at dealing insane amount of damage, but to multiple enemies, essentially. And acquiring these gem towers is no easy task, because number 1, you have to be the appropriate level, but number 2, you have to play one of the most, or probably even is the hardest game mode in this entire game, Hardcore. And defeating Hardcore gives you an astounding 300 gems, which is just honestly a slap in the face. Every single one of these gem towers costs more than 1,500 gems. So you have to be playing this game mode a lot. But still, achieving these gem towers after so much grinding, more than the golden towers I have to say, is honestly super satisfying. And much more satisfying is just how badass and damage dealing each of these gem towers are, forevermore available to you at any time.